Last year at this event, we took some time to talk about the one good thing, and we let each of you do that as well. We're going to do that again this year. Last year when we talked about that, we spoke to the influx of migrant individuals who are coming into our city. And we had no idea then how this issue would evolve and grow in the coming year. We asked you and encouraged everybody in the room to consider and getting involved in some way in order to follow God's command to care for the poor. Today we want to share with you a story of a group of people who answered that call and have been doing some extraordinary things in their neighborhood. You're going to meet a mom who brought her neighborhood together around a global crisis that started showing up in her front yard. You're going to meet a former Denver Bronco player who not only supports some great causes in our city, but is also deeply involved in the work. And you'll meet his wife, a former Adams 12 teacher, who said yes when she saw a need and realized that they could meet it with something that they already had. Before we hit play, I want to say this. Standing up here and talking about the migrant situation in our community feels a lot different than it did 12 months ago. There's a lot more emotion around it. There's a lot more different sources out there talking about it. Andrea is going to touch on this a little bit at the beginning of the video, but I want to reiterate this. You can be on either side of the fence when it comes to immigration policy and what you think about what's happening at the border. You can be passionate about one of those two things. And at the same time, you can still be involved in caring for the poor and the people that are hurting in our city. These are not mutually exclusive things going on, and I think it's really easy for us to have strong opinions about something and then to use it almost as a smokescreen to divorce ourselves from what God wants us to be up to in our cities. Hope you check this out and enjoy.
In Denver, there have been close to 40,000 migrants who have been bused here not by their choice and who landed in our city in flip-flops and in shorts in Colorado winter. They want to work and care for themselves and not be dependent on anyone else. I think we can all agree that the federal immigration system in this country is broken, but that doesn't change the fact that there are vulnerable people and families in our neighborhoods right now. So I ended up on this group chat. There was a call out on that group chat for a feeding event was gonna happen down at a local shelter. A lot of Venezuelan families were there, and if you can, bring bananas, bring snacks. They want to supplement the meal. There's a lot of hungry people. I'm like, sweet. So we head to the grocery store, buy 10 bunches of bananas, put them in the trunk, and drive down for the first time in my life down to a homeless shelter. We pulled over and got out of the car, and my kids literally started handing bananas to kids their own age who have nothing. Many of them were in this parking lot without shoes, lots of adults in shorts. And then came all the moms with babies in their arms and kids at their side. And I stood there with my own kids, talking with a lot of moms with their own kids. And the overwhelming cry, of course, was for work. They came here for the chance to take care of themselves. While I didn't have work to offer, I knew what I did have to offer are a lot of the stuff they were asking me for at home in my basement. Extra kids' clothes, coats, jackets, things that they needed it now, and I knew I had it. So as I was about to leave, a mom just stopped me and just looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Can you help me? My 4 kids didn't eat today. Can you help me with some dinner?" And that was a moment that changed everything, because the answer, of course, was yes, and there was a recognition that that's exactly what I would do if I were her. After that experience, I shared online in my local Highlands Moms group what had just happened. I never in my wildest dreams thought that that post would turn into a grassroots movement in my city. Today we are up over 8,000 people. The movement spread like wildfire. we did a 12-week poll to kind of self-report and understand the scope in which we had helped at that point. Almost 500 migrants were being housed in my community, by my community, through that movement.
So when I first met David and Delia, it was actually through their daughter Eustalis, who is in first grade with our son Isaiah. On the way out of school that day, I ran into the school social worker, and she shared with me their situation, and I asked, how can we help? And Lisa's response, quite frankly, changed my life. She said, they're losing their housing tomorrow. And I said, wow, well, we have a 2-bedroom apartment in our basement. Let me talk to my husband.
It was a great text message, a text message that certainly changed my life and changed our family's lives. And my response to that was yes, let's do it. And everything happened very quickly. I think that was on a Thursday. The next day, Friday, we went up to the school and met Delia and her 4 children. And from there, we drove straight to our house, asked if they felt like they'd be comfortable there, and they said yes.
Porque a veces como venimos de países también que las personas hay como que personas que como que no tienen corazón. Como hay, gracias a Dios, a mí me tocó acá de verdad con esta familia, con Ale y con el señor Jordan. Es como que si Dios me los haya mandado del cielo, de verdad. Y mis hijos están súper agradecidos con ellos.
Once David and Delia and their family got settled, I'd say maybe a week later, I posted on the Highlands Mommies group. I think I posted something like, we have a family that just moved in with us. They need work, whatever you guys can help with. And the response was overwhelming.
Gracias a Andrea, nosotros recibimos una casa que ella nos ayudó mucho a encontrarla. Porque si no, todavía estuviéramos en el... Sí, en verdad, hemos recibido mucho apoyo, muchos beneficios aquí, gracias a la comunidad. Sí, me siento muy bien, me siento como ya parece como que yo fuera más bien de aquí.
Gosh, it's amazing to serve someone, and there's just no joy like it.
We honestly have probably learned and felt as much of Jesus's love coming towards us from this incredible family as we think that we may have, distributed to them.
The faith that these newcomers bring is unreal, and it's not just me. I hear that over and over and over. Like, there is work being done in our city right here, right now. He is here. He is at work, and He's using us to do it. And I am so grateful to be a part of it. I don't know that I'll ever get to see Him move like this again in my life, and I am here for it.
All right. Wow. Like, what you guys have done has been remarkable. And there's hours of footage that we left on the floor, that the Lion Project, this great nonprofit in our city, left on the floor, that is just profound. And so I'm really grateful, really, really grateful. So I guess, Aaliyah, I'll start with you. You're sitting there and you say yes, or I'm going to talk to my husband, which is kind of like yes. You're pretty much committed, right? What did it feel like right after that? I mean, was it scary? Like, what was going on inside of you?
Yeah, there was fear, specifically that week after David and Delia and their 4 kids moved in with us. I remember coming downstairs to our son, who's 6, crying and saying, I can't be friends with them because my sister speaks better Spanish than me. And, that was heartbreaking, but also so great to see. Like, he is seeing this friendship evolve, and but definitely scary. But one thing that kept coming to my mind throughout the past 8 months is over our involvement with the Denver Dream Center. One thing that they say over and over is, you see a need, you meet a need. And I think that God really prepared our hearts before we even met them to, go outside of our comfort zone. And we saw this need, and it was a no-brainer to say yes. And that's one thing that I just hope that people learn and see and share with other people, that it's okay. God wants you to live outside of your comfort zone and say yes and meet a need when you see it.
So good. Andrea, there was an existing Highlands Moms Facebook group, and there's a number of these, Central Park, other places all over the city, so this is the one that we're talking about today. But and then Andrea kind of started an offshoot of that was just laser focused on migrant men and women and their kids. And so it was, part of the power of this is just what happens when a neighborhood rallies around something that's in the sweet spot of the kingdom. And so, Andrea, what's changed in your neighborhood? And I know you could talk you're an amazing communicator. You could talk for 20 minutes on this. So you've got one. So go ahead.
Okay, what's changed in my community? Well, when you look at a map, there's all these lines and borders, all this man-made separation. And I feel like in the last 6 months, I've really learned that as community, as kingdom people, we are not restricted by those lines. And this community has chose to do the right thing right now. When we learned that there are kids living in tents near my house, no way. My mom community is not messing around. We are not going to have that. And thank you. And when it spread beyond moms, when it exploded, and now we call ourselves Moms and Neighbors because there's a lot of guys involved, so let me just, you can help too. I give you permission. I get to have the most amazing conversations with people in my community that goes beyond mom stuff now, right? We're educating each other. We're walking side by side through what it is to be a migrant in America for the first time. Our kids are watching. I have loved watching my kids serve. They are the quickest ones. They're not worried about border policy and what side of the fence, none of that. It's like, this kid is hungry. This kid needs help. They just do the right thing. Well, I'm learning from them every day. All the way up to amazing DU students that I got to talk with who just come with amazing ideas. This next generation coming up is not going to have negative feelings about what migrants are. These kids that come from my community, they know them. They're friends with them. My kids play with kids who have been kidnapped and hurt, and who had to ride on top of trains at risk of death, who've gone through the most dangerous jungle in the world. The truth is, my community is stronger right now because hope has no borders.
Yeah. I told you she could talk. So Jordan's been involved in the Dream Center, a number of things in our city for a long time. Former Denver Bronco player, had the record for the longest punt return in the Super Bowl for quite a while, right?
For a little bit there.
For a little bit? Here, you want to share? I'll actually take one of those.
It's good.
Okay, we're good. Were you really happy for the person that broke that record and just cheering him on like a good Christian?
There was some weight off my back. I didn't need to be introduced as the person with the longest punt return in Super Bowl history.
Well, I'm up here still bringing it up. So, Jordan, as we were talking a couple days ago, what do you want to say about the difference between supporting something financially, which is a great thing, and a lot of you in this room support incredible nonprofits in our city, and we're very, very grateful. I am, especially as a nonprofit leader. But what do you want to say about the difference between supporting something financially versus actually being on the ground, like what you and Aaliyah have done with your family and welcoming in this other family into your home?
Sure. I mean, I think it's a great question. First of all, I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think you can both support something financially and put your time there also. What I can do is share a little bit more of our story and let you walk away with that. And I think what you saw in the video and even what my wife shared, it looked like things were, they happened pretty quickly chronologically, and they did. It was a Thursday, and on Saturday we had a new, family of 6 living with us. But there was a lot that led up to it. We live in Denver. We live in North Denver. We've had interactions with men and women dealing with, mental health crises, homelessness, addiction. All of those things happen in our neighborhood, and we had been praying for over 2 years, how can we love our neighbor better? How can we love our neighbor better? And these are the neighbors that I'm talking about. So I would say that God prepared our hearts, like my wife said, to do this. So when I got the call from my wife, it was a very quick yes, let's do it, and we can figure out the details later, because we had prayed up to that point. Between Thursday and Saturday, we may not even have prayed about it, because we just knew that as soon as the opportunity was there, it was something that God had put on our hearts. So that's a little backstory on what led up to us acting. In terms of the fruit of our time that we've given to this family and to our community, and how that looks differently than what we could have gave financially. One thing is moments. We've created incredible moments that we will have for the rest of our lives. I can remember the first time I met the whole family, but specifically the first time I met David, who has an amputated leg, and hearing the stories of how he put his children on top of a train for days at a time to get here to the United States. And I heard that story before I met him. And when I met him, and I said, "Goodness, you have a prosthetic," and it's just unfathomable. Some of the things that they went through to get here, and we have tons more stories that and moments that we've created with our family. And the last thing that I'll mention is, an extension of that is this legacy of love that I feel like we've had the opportunity to create. And what I mean by that is our kids. Our kids, they probably haven't seen us give financially before. That doesn't impact them. There's no actionable item that they're witnessing Aaliyah and I do. But at this point, they see, they see the love that we try to share with this family on a regular basis. Our kids, as my wife mentioned, have improved their Spanish incredibly, and we have too. But we get to create this legacy of love for our kids' generation and the generations to come.
Yeah, it's so good. So good. Yeah, give him a hand. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. I like that. They do deserve a standing O. Yeah, that's the good stuff. I hope we're standing up here a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, and I hope we're telling stories about people who are going after it on the unhoused situation in our state, or who are going after it with homeless veterans. I hope that's our prayer, is that this room can do that. And it's happened in the past, and I'm prayerfully hoping that it happens again.